Soul family. Adam Jackson here with another episode of the Sacred Sons podcast. Welcome to my front porch. We're out in the country. We're out in Hawaii, California.
Come on.
One of the stomping grounds of our guest today, my brother Heart Saputo. Welcome to my front porch.
Hey. Happy to be at the front porch, bro.
Yeah, bro. It's always an honor to sit with you and to talk and to expand. You know, Heart and I, we've been going on this for several years now. Creating containers, creating spaces, holding space together as leaders, as brothers. And with that, today, I'm just looking forward to bringing through a genuine tea talk. Maybe we'll get a little guitar in. All right. So with that, our guest today, he's a student of the energies. He's a ceremonialist. He's a medicine and song carrier. And he's a sacred son. Welcome, Heart Saputo.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
How does it feel to be home?
Hey.
How does it feel to be home?
It feels, this is the thing, it feels great in many different ways. Anytime I touch down into San Diego again, it brings it all up. And that's when I know I'm in a good spot. That's when everything gets brought up. But it's good to be here. It feels really good just simply to be on your porch. We've already been on your porch for the past about 2 hours, coming in with some beautiful stuff. And so I'm thankful that we decided to keep this going and then just, you know, allow other brothers and sisters out in the world to be able to see what we would be doing anyway. And that's coming into communion with each other, having real talk, feeling each other deeply, sharing in communion with other brothers, and you know, just being and allowing it to be seen.
Yeah.
So thank you for allowing us to be seen.
Hey. So here we are being seen, and I know that these mountains here in Hamu is like an old part of your stomping ground. You grew up in East County, San Diego, yeah?
Yep, El Cajon, Lakeside, and then I had other family that was in like the Old Town area.
Yeah.
National City. Yep.
What was it like for you growing up here? What was your upbringing? What was your, just to give us a little bit of a background of who you are.
Damn.
What makes a man who can sit here and be called Heart?
We're going back again, huh?
We're going back in.
All right. A new introduction.
Yeah, and you know, it's every time it's new, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're in a new place now, and the perspective of where we come from is always evolving.
Absolutely. Man, yeah, these were definitely my stomping grounds and roaming grounds and learning grounds, and blood, sweat, tears, cries, screams, all of it was here in San Diego. And coming in and being raised up in these mountains, it was having friends up in these mountains specifically, it was really beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful from a perspective of like when I was a kid. I would say what I enjoyed most about being out here was that I had essentially the desert, the snow, and the ocean all within a 24-hour period.
Yeah. To
where you can really like do all three major sports in one day. And that was beautiful to connect all this out here. And with my upbringing, as some previous videos and different talks that we've had, it'll go into how I went through some good trials and tribulations, just like everybody does.
Yeah.
I had some different types of upbringings, and creating a, you know, like when you're in vital years of your life, there's specific developmentally very important times where something just clicks, and that's what you base your identity on.
Yeah.
And in those times, there was a lot that was happening within my family, and the way that I was coming into being taught as a young boy from all sides of my family, And primarily when it came to some of the things with my father, and bless him, there was some things that were there to teach me to strengthen up and to become a protector and like live a life of honor, but it wasn't so much as what he could live 100% himself, and there was a lot of darkness in there as well. So the way that I was raised up was essentially to be a protector, to be a man of my word, to be a man of my family, and that being raised also in a family of different gangs and different types of organizations that my father worked with. There was a shadow to what honor was. There was a shadow to what love was. There was a shadow to what you would defend and you would base what you know life on and who you can trust and who you can't. And so in life, I was either taught that I could only trust my family and nobody else, and that turned into you can only trust your race and nobody else, and that turned into you can only trust the people that live in this specific part of the neighborhood, in this gang that you're a part of, and nobody else. Yeah. And then it turned into so on and so forth. And so my life took on a large undertaking of, I know that there's a really, really important purpose to all of this, and I'm just going to trust, and it's really damn sensational.
There's a sense when I hear stories, like yours, like mine, like many men, like it's really through the depth of our heartbreak, of our hardships, of our trials, that allow us the capacity to hold what we need to hold as we move forward. And as you're speaking, we're gonna go deeper into the story too, but when you said race, let's talk about race. Mm-hmm. What is that like to grow up and have someone telling you that you're different, better than, or whatever you were being told about yourself because of your race? What is that experience like?
Bro, that's such a good question for me because I come from a multicultural family.
Yes.
And so, culture, I think for my family, it was less race and it was culture.
Yeah.
But there was still
There's a racial component to it.
Yes, there's still a racial component to it.
Yeah.
What was, for me though, where I felt the most like not welcome, it was more towards on the Hispanic side, where when I came around, I could tell they just didn't necessarily, it didn't make me feel welcomed. Even though I loved them and they loved me, there was still a difference.
What was the Hispanic side, like mom's side, dad's side?
Well, my dad married into a Mexican family. And so the Italian side was very much of like, there's two kinds of people. There's Italians and all others, but like always with a smile and, because they love their culture so much. And I think that's how it is anyway. The Caucasian side, the Anglo side of my family, they didn't talk about it really ever. My grandfather was a police officer, and he had a lot that was happening during the 50s and 60s and so on and so forth. But it was the more of like, so what was race to me? Race was, okay, I can feel that these people naturally feel really comfortable with themselves and less than others. And so that's normal. It's like, it's okay because we interweave and we coincide, right? We start to weave with each other as we start to trust more. But the stories that I got when I was young was that my mom was made to feel bad because she had red hair and blue eyes, and my dad's side of the family is all darker Sicilian. And so it was like, but again, it was more culturally, like just like in Americani, where a lot of people culturally think of Americans in specific ways, where there wasn't like a lot of hatred in it. It wasn't until I started growing up in life and having specific interactions and altercations with different people in life that started to create whether or not Dad was right about some of this.
Confirming the narrative that you were raised with.
That's right.
Or, just to jump into the, through the time continuum, like, where are you now with the concept of race? Like, what's your...
We're one, brother.
With the construct of race.
We're one. We are absolutely one. I don't care about the construct anymore. There is no construct for anymore. That has been completely blasted. And one of the main reasons, for me anyway, that has been important, because there was a specific time in my life where I personally took a stance of, I wanted to make sure that I could strengthen specifically the Anglo, quote unquote, white race, to be able to just strengthen the culture of my family. I was taught that in multiple sides of all the cultures that was honorable. It just decided, or it depended on which one you decided to strengthen. And so... You
mean like in terms of connecting with your ancestral roots?
Yeah, like the Mexicans would always say, marry a Mexican, strengthen the La Raza. The Italians would say, have an Italian wife, you'll strengthen the Italians. It's like you'll keep more of a purity to that. Whereas my dad was the one in the family that changed that. So I'm the byproduct of two cultures that didn't really feel it was okay to mix and go through the, like, okay, there is enough culturally that's completely different.
Yeah.
And so in that, it was just like, all right, it's really honorable to be a part of all of them. And even though I feel like I'm only so much a part of some of them, there was a point in time where I also adopted that, well, she needed to be light-skinned, so on and so forth. Yeah. But now I have a child that also has African blood, that has South American blood. And so for me, now, and others that maybe didn't have a life of taking what they really felt was, very important to them to certain degrees. I'm just very honest about mine. That was where in my system it was, yes, if I am truly, if I feel everyone is my family and not just the specific kind, well, then you actually need to become my family, and I need to honor that by having you as my family in all the ways. And so to know that my child comes from, and all my children come from so many different nationalities, it creates the knowing inside myself that it has nothing to do with one, it has to do with all.
Yeah.
And that's my own internal seed saying I'm willing to plant in other gardens, whereas there was a time where I was like, no, I only want to plant in this garden because they say that's where it's safe. Right? Because it all comes from the prior programming of what's safe, what's not, what's going to be accepted, what's not. Blow that open, let's go into all the gardens, and let's contribute to each other in a really good way. Figure out the differences, really appreciate the differences, figure out the similarities, and how we can really support each other in that. And that cross-pollination is very beautiful. Yeah. So for me, race, we're one. and not from like the we are one, and it's, it's like, no.
It's not we are one. I am one. Mm-hmm. I am one. And my experience of oneness is literally within myself.
Hey.
And I'm biracial and multicultural, and you're saying you're multicultural as well. And like, this is the time that we're in America. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, you can really only know the truth through yourself, the truth of yourself, know thyself. And what I knew growing up was the love of both of my grandmothers. My father's side is black, has African ancestry. My mother's side is white, Scottish, Irish, English, French, Scandinavian. It's all one. It's all one because we're one within, and that's just the truth.
And we can find the beauty in the difference in culture. And respect the ways.
Find the beauty in the differences. There's so much. There is so much energy put on the lies and deceit in our differences.
So much
of our borders and fences.
There's so much nectar between it all.
Speak on that nectar.
Hey, I'm just coming off of a few months of Egypt and Greece and Mexico, and man, there's nothing better than to be perceived one way, but really have it in your heart to connect to culture, learn some language, go ahead of time and show the respects, ask the the permission from the land when you step off the plane, and then actually go and connect
and experience
culture. Experience.
Yeah.
But I think for me, what's been so beautiful is what allows me to see more color in a beautiful way in this painting that's being co-created is being able to communicate not only energetically but linguistically. And sometimes when we go into another culture where we don't know the language whatsoever, they also know that. So there's a barrier for whatever reason. But to start off with understanding some of the base language, it's like it's a portal straight into the heart. Because not only is it like, what? That's so different. But it's like, you actually went to that much trouble to learn my language and to show that you care about my culture and to be polite, understand the customs and different etiquettes. You know, that means a lot. I want to open up everything to you. Like, you're my friend, like my true friend, my true brother. And I've noticed that's happened everywhere. And no matter what culture, the color is in really wanting to connect.
Yeah.
And just like when we really want to connect in nature, it not only becomes the lighter or darker shades of brown and green, right? There's so much more variation to all of it. But that's the intention gets to be there to simply connect. And so that has been my intention. And so that's the nectar.
The nectar is the connection.
Yep, true connection.
Yeah.
And not for any other reason other than true connection.
Why is true connection lacking as a whole?
It takes presence. It takes empathy. It takes caring. It takes actually giving a shit about somebody else. At least for a brief moment. Right? And there's an actual like true being with somebody and witnessing, as we know in a lot of the work that we do.
Yeah.
And just like acting like you are. We're used to acting like we are. So when the enough presence actually comes to the table where it brings up a lot of sensations. And most people try to
numb.
Yeah. Why go there if we don't have to? We can just be surface. And even in some of the communities that would consider themselves not surface, and there's deeper until there's just an understanding of being around each other, and then there's very little that needs to be said. Right? But the connection, man, it's been beautiful. That's what I mean by the nectar.
Yeah. Johan's voice right there is the nectar. Him up there, Baba.
There's another bit about culture too, because it's on my mind, and I figure it's good to be able to share.
Yes.
So some of my earliest memories of when learning about my culture was that I would always say like, well, why are you so dark? Because the Sicilians, they could be very dark skinned, very much like similar to your skin.
Yeah.
And so they would always say, well, the reason why we're dark is because during the 9th and 11th century, the Moors conquered Sicily and they raped our women and, basically put the Arab blood into our skin and so on and so forth. And so at an early age, it was like, fuck, is that the enemy too? It's not only the guys that are going to come try to hurt mom and hurt sister. And I don't only have to worry about them that I'm told that I have to worry about in my own streets, but now I got to worry about these people because they did this to our family. And should I like them? Should I not like them? Are they my family? Are they not my family?
Yeah.
Right? Because it happened such a long time ago. And then growing up and having so much in the world of the perception of what's happening in the Arab countries and the culture and the religion and so on and so forth, there's been a lifetime of thinking whether or not I should even accept that is a part of my heritage or not. For whatever reason.
And there's a deeper truth here that if you go back far enough, we're all related.
Exactly.
And I'm talking about, humans, plants, fungi, the creepy crawlers. Hey. Like, how far back do you want to go?
But just from a simply human side of being in this life, not so much the ethereal of like all the other awareness, just from like a little boy's experience of what's happening in the world and what has happened and how some things have been like horrible.
Yeah.
Like that's the basis of when we start judgment. Yeah. It's when we hear the stories of different things that have happened, especially if somebody didn't like our people because of this, or if somebody conquered us because of that, or if somebody...
Well,
Right.
It's in the hearing of the story, but it's also in the feeling of the experience, because that trauma gets stored and that gets passed down generationally. And also we know oftentimes the oppressed becomes the oppressor.
Absolutely.
And so in that story that you're sharing, it's like it's just getting passed on.
And that was what was really important to go back to North Africa, was to be able to get back to the land of where I held some type of judgment, even as a small kid. Because later in life, it didn't bother me whatsoever. I understood life.
Yeah, but it's different to put your feet on the soil.
As that small child that was like, you did something wrong. It was like, I don't want to accept you as being you. And then boom, I stepped down and it was like, shoo, I'm home. And so I was able to fully release anything culturally within my own seed that felt any type of negativity, as that little boy did, right? Not as the evolved who I am now, but as that little boy, gave him the opportunity to be able to settle that, like, oh, we're good. It's all forgiven. It's understood. Let's get it. Yeah. So that was really special.
For someone who may not understand that concept, what does that mean to experience it through your little boy? Why was that important for you to do that?
That was where the onset was of like, this is what life is. And so to have that as such a base, and then to go through many death cycles in life, to see things in many different ways.
Yeah.
That was as an adult. There was something that was different when I just allowed myself to fully, like, boom, channel that. Say, okay, this is where it was started and this is where it gets to end.
Yeah. But talk about why that's important to do that for little Frankie, for little Frank Sebastian. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is that important for you to do that in that way? Because you could very well just, hey, I have this awareness now and I have a different understanding than when I was a kid, but why is that important to do that?
For me, it's all about honoring it deeper, making it happen. And if there's any kind of an edge, even with little Frankie, he was taught to be very opportunistic. So if there's an edge that I get to meet, wherever it could be blocking anything from moving forward, I'm gonna meet that edge.
Yeah.
And so, and the thing was, I didn't even think about that being a reason why I would go back to North Africa. Maria and the baby were going to be going there, and it was, they would feel more safe if I was going to be there and be present in the space and in the circle of the majority of being sisters.
Yeah.
And so it was like, all right, I'm going to go for my family. But as soon as I got there, literally, we have armed guards with machine guns, like, suited up for where we were going.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, well, there's no need to worry about nothing from that perspective. So I did get to just channel in, and then it was pure culture, like pure culture. And that for me was, it's the honoring in it all. Speaking the language again, that for me, same thing with the Gaelic side. When I started speaking Gaelic, that also connected me to something deeply in my roots.
Yeah. You have deep Scottish ancestry?
Yeah, Scotch-Irish.
And what was the experience like the first time you went back to Scotland and connected to those roots?
It was absolutely fundamental, and fundamental to feel it all.
Real quick, how dope is it to think about roots versus race?
Yeah, we're getting back to the roots, like you just said. Instead of race, it's roots.
Yeah, and how incredible is that to call that in? Like, let's think of each other's roots versus our race.
Absolutely.
Because we can respect roots.
Yeah.
We can witness roots. We can even tap into roots. We can learn the language. We can sing the songs. And if we see each other as having roots versus this construct of race, which is so shallow, roots go deep.
Absolutely.
Go deeper.
Hey.
Roots.
This
podcast is going to be called Roots with Bearheart.
Grow, flow, let them go, baby. Come on.
So tell me about the Scottish piece. Sacred Sons was just in Scotland last summer for a prime leadership training. It was incredible just to be on the land, but also to hear some of the stories of oppression that those people have been going through just in the last, 150, 200 years. Like this, it's very recent the way that some of the tribal peoples, even of those northern Scottish areas, have really gone through.
Yeah, man, there's a deep history of during any type of conquest in any kind of way in the world for any reason, there's, you know, some people that just get the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
And so there's a group of also the indigenous Europeans that have gone through all the same thing. It's happened everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Specifically to connect to my own roots in that way. Again, because you hear so many stories and this and that, and it's, and again, in my family, it was, okay, we're half Roman and half Celt. So even the warring sides of the Romans and the Celts, it's like those are still both my roots.
Yeah.
So being able to go back and feel and touch down to where my ancestors walked at one point in time, some of the sites that they prayed at, it was very empowering. And I highly hope everyone gets to do that with everywhere that they come from. And then I think once that's really locked in,
yeah,
it doesn't mean you have to go there for that to be locked in. But if there is a deeper sense that could bring,
yeah,
then I think it's much easier to say, okay, I've connected back down to the roots here. Then when we are in a space where we're like, okay, there could have been other lives and so on and so forth, then everywhere is home. Truly, everywhere is home, because one way or another, we can conceptualize it in this life or within this reality. And in our ancestors, yes, but then in all other lives, come on. Yeah. So and that from there, hopefully, will create an even more deeper connection to what is already here and around us at all times. Because then if we're thinking ancestrally,
yes,
it's not so much at least from the way that I've been seeing it, it's not so much of like talking to my ancestors and praying to my ancestors. It's understanding that our fucking ancestors are living through us. We are our ancestors. It's the same seed, the same energetic that either died or came or whatever, but we are it now.
Yes.
Of our ancestors.
We are the living ancestors.
What do they want to do? How do they want to utilize this energy in this form with this much capability, with the ability to network and come together? Why are we really here? Mm. Once we're at a specific level, yes, we know it's coming into community. Yes, we know it's to better and contribute to the earth and to be in right relation with all relations. But okay, we have all of this knowing now. We have many specific ways to heal. We have different ways to explore. When we bring our energy together, what do we really want to do with this? Because it's powerful.
Let me ask you, as someone who has served in and facilitated many ceremonies and as much exploration as you have done, internal and external, why are we here?
You know, there's a lot of ways that we can hit that.
Wait, where you want to go? That's a big question. This is a massive question. You know what I'm saying? It's not lost on me, but
it was. I mean,
I could like check it out. To love
from the most pure, yes. Well, that's the thing, though. There may be a lot of questions in the world about self, about others, about why we're here, what we're here to do. Yeah. There is only one answer.
Yes.
Love is always the answer. What am I here for? To love. What am I? Love. What am I here to learn? Love. What am I here to share? Love. How am I here to contribute? Love. It is all love. And then there's a lot of nuances of love, because love, from my perspective, has been a word that's been being like used to mean everything. Love can mean something different to every single person. And it's how they feel it, how they understand it.
And if God is love, then maybe that could be the case. That love can be many things.
Love can be many things, and it can also be misconstrued too, because somebody could say I love you and then they kill you, right? So it's like love can be thought in so many different ways. So for me, when I'm moving forward, like what am I here for? Truly, presence. Because then if I'm present with you just as much as I'm present with my daughter, just as much as I'm present with the flower or the turtle that I meet, or somebody that calls himself a president, or somebody that's considered a peasant, an Haiti, in the farms and everything else. Yeah. If I can simply just understand
Could I throw this out there, that presence, therefore, is love in action?
Yes. Perfectly said. Hey.
Because
in the purest form.
Because we are love, truly.
Yep.
At that soul level. And we come into this life. I love that Avicii lyric. Life's a game played by everyone, and love is a prize. Like, love is the prize. Why are we here?
Well, then we've already won.
Then we've already won. We have just by being here.
I've said that many times. And I usually don't feel like it's necessary for me to go into that. And I'm being humble when I say this, but I'm being humble when I say this. We could fucking win that old paradigm game, come into an understanding of, okay, now there's a different game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and for me, that game was being able to forgive self and forgive all others. Mm. And once I really understood that it had nothing to do with why is everything happening to me, the change was, this is all happening for me, and it's my opportunity to learn from this.
Yeah.
Then I automatically stepped out of any type of slavery and stood into being a free man.
Yeah.
Right? Because then I hold myself accountable for no matter what happens.
So I would say true freedom for a man doesn't come when he forgives others, but it comes when he forgives himself. And so what has been your path to self-forgiveness, which I feel like in the work is some of the hardest to come by? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. For us as men. What was that path like for you? And what is that path like for you?
Of forgiveness?
Self-forgiveness.
You know, brother, for me, it's... like, quite transparently, it hasn't so much been a part of my recent reality. It's because there's been right relations now for so long.
Yeah, say more about that, because that's what I'm saying. It's a whole path. It's not like
there's ebbs and flows.
A line you cross. It's a whole path.
There's ebbs and flows, and I'm happy to be in a flow. Yeah. But self-forgiveness for me is like, yeah, it's when the system says something isn't in alignment, you need to course correct, or something wasn't, because there's a lot that's happened in life, but I've done my best to be right by it and to get right by it. But so, like, fast forward now to where...
What does that mean, to get right by it?
To hold myself accountable, to make amends where amends needs to be made,
okay.
to very purposely call myself forward into the conversations that may be very active energetically, and be willing to sit there and be in it 100%. And it's up to the people if they want to join into that or not. And so it's not in there's so much that I've cleared and so much that I've put on the table that now that's not so much of what's in my current reality. And as soon as something happens where I do genuinely feel like my action could have caused some type of confusion, it's immediately like, if there's any part of the little one that's like, fuck, I fucked up, man, I am trustworthy. I am a good person, right? I'm trying my hardest. Right? I'm trying, Mom. I'm trying to be a good boy. Whenever that gets triggered, it's like, you're good, man. Right?
Yeah.
And I may be the only one out there that'd be willing to say it. But if that's for anybody else too, it's like,
that was a big piece of worthiness there. You're saying trustworthy, but I'd just strip it down to worthy. Because a lot of people just don't feel worthy. Yeah. When we're so blessed in this abundance of love.
And what I found
is this experience.
What I found is that when I do, and as I have come forward and have, like, been proactive in, you know what, this is how something came off. I've been feeling like it could have been different. You know, I'm in deep apology of the energetics that came, whatever it is. To be proactive and not have to have it be put on top of you. Mm-hmm. It creates so much deeper of a connection point between who any of that forgiveness would even need to be put.
But you and I know.
Yourself.
So I hear you. I hear you coming through clear, grounded and clear. But we know in this work, like, so many men are carrying it. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for the tool. I'm looking for how do you transcend that piece to let go of the weight, to let go of the grief, the guilt, the pain.
Get humble. Get humble, especially if it's deep. Get humble one way or another, because it's got to be shared and it gets to be cleared. There's some of that deepest shame and deepest guilt it's like brothers and all alike, humans. We go to sleep with the last thing that we think about before we sleep is this. First thing we think of when we wake up is that. And then that charges the rest of the day. It's so ingrained in our subconscious, even no matter how much we try to escape from it. Those are the ones. When you can take care of those ones and call forward a better way to clear that and to accept that and to see that from a different perspective. And if there's any old threads, don't just cut the fucking thread. It's real nice to say energetically, oh yeah, I cut that fucker. Yep, I cut that fucker. Yeah, but wait, now they're sitting right next to you. Right?
Yeah, floating.
So now we're here. So like, how are we really going to like create the deeper connection? By having those intimate conversations.
Yeah.
And sometimes, yes, and sometimes I think that for most people, the reason why they hold it is because it creates so much sensation and they're not used to letting go in front of others without feeling very, intimacy is not there for many people in their communities and in their family at that level to be able to share with that authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what we get to do. We don't got to do it, because then when you don't do it or when you don't follow up, then there's even more guilt and even more shame that we just put on self. I found that switching that into I don't got to do anything. I'd have choice to do whatever the hell I want. I'm a grown-ass free man.
Yeah.
I get to do this because it's an honorable duty. I get to show up for my children because it's an honorable duty. I get to show up for my communities and the ones that I'm helping grow and tend to because it's an honorable duty. I get to show up for everyone in the world because it's an honorable duty. And that's the duty that I feel comes through with La Forza. And everybody has their own feeling and understanding of the specific energy that it is. But specifically, if I'm going to be here and everyone knows me, that's what I know as the sacred energy.
Yeah. Right?
The sacred force. And so it's just an honorable duty to speak truth. It's just an honorable duty to call yourself to the fire. It's just an honorable duty to stand up and take care of the animal that's over there injured. It's just an honorable duty to have the conversations of where our children are still being harmed. It's just an honorable duty to be kind to your neighbor. It's just an honorable duty. So we get to do it, and we get to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So that for me is how it continues to move forward.
How do we get more to do it? How do we get more to get to it? How do we get more honor? How do we get more humble?
What do you, like, what comes through with you as far as your own life experience? What has it done for you?
What has what done?
Or what have you done that has created the opportunity to get humble?
Get on the ground, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Get close to the earth.
Mm-hmm. How about becoming a father and watching childbirth?
Bro. Becoming a father is, it's way more humbling than it is like an honorary thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You don't just become a father, in that moment, but yeah, man, to see life itself be passed through the womb of the mother, through the woman that I love, I would say, fatherhood for me has been the greatest love that I've been able to experience, the greatest form of love for my children. Mm-hmm. With each one, too, it's interesting because, like, every time each of them has been born, it's like another human that I'm going to love for the rest of my life, no matter what, into reality. Mm-hmm. And it's so expansive and literally with boys calls me closer to the ground, to wrestle, to play. Like that energy works really well in our household. Yeah. So I think that gets me humble. Yeah. And also in the hard moments, we just came through we had a season of illness that swept through, and dealing with that and being humbled and cleaning up the mess and feeling it. And through that process, coming back to the acknowledgement of what's actually important, which is our family, which is our health, which is, our, not only our closeness, but our ability to just be together.
Yeah.
And to just be so grateful for that, just to be together.
Yeah. I'm really happy that you had that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in that time. You know, I think it's good for people to hear probably, but in reality, men are needed. Men are needed both in the field and at home. Yeah. And I know you walk in both ways. And so do I.
Yeah.
You know, truly, so do I. Because I'm out in the field and doing the work
Yep.
and coming home and holding it down. And men are needed in the home.
Yeah.
You know, men are really needed. And I have a sense that there's a lot of men who are even scared to step into fatherhood. And there's a sentiment of like, to bring a child into this world. You know, that's a fearful thing. But again, I've experienced it as pure love and never fear.
Hey, she. Come on.
You know,
It's great to feel that on you, bro.
And so you have, it's cool because you have 3 daughters. I got 3 sons. Mm-hmm. You know.
Oh, we're making the Brady Bunch before you know it. Yeah. I wanted to talk.
The bear and lion bunch.
I wanted to touch real quick about humble.
Please. Yeah.
You can't, because I was just talking to somebody else about this, and it just triggered something. Somebody asked me, how are you so humble? And I told him, I said, for me, I became humble by being completely humiliated many times in life. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but if there's other people that have been taking a similar life path where it's like the humility only comes from like feeling humiliated, and whether or not it's been outward or interior, but just full humiliation, and then put onto just specific things that have happened in my life with different injuries or different this and that. There's been times where like the humble has come from the wide range of anything from complete ecstatic bliss, being so humble, fatherhood, birth. Then there's also been the complete dread of watching the person that you love die, and being in just like the sheer just like grieving of at maximum. Right.
The cycles of life humble us.
The cycles of life. For me specifically, as I think you know, like the injury with the dog bite injury with my genitalia.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Oh, bro, you want to talk about humiliated? I got bit by a dog. Literally 22 stitches to put me back together. It's the worst pain a man can go through
The dog got your balls?
Like all of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 28. My daughter had just been, Haylee was just born.
Oh, wow. 28.
28. And there was, bro, it was crazy, man. Almost passed out driving to the emergency room.
What kind of dog?
A big German Shepherd.
Oh, shit.
And so it was like, bro, it was like,
my God.
And then they're like, literally, I go in, they're like, oh, your fucking balls are just like crazy. We got to see if you have testicular torsion, which means they'd have to cut them.
Oh,
and so I'm going back, and like everything's just coming through. Like what is happening? Like I know there's a lesson coming to this, but like what is really going on? Feel me, y'all. Feel me. Just for a moment. Take a deep breath into there. It's that one. It's that extreme. It's that extreme. Like, no, we just don't go there.
Wow.
But we just don't go there, and all is there.
Wow.
22 stitches. Luckily, they didn't have to castrate me. They just put me back together, and I was literally the laughing stock of the hospital every so many days or so many weeks because they brought more people in. They said they'd never seen genitals that ripped up, but like by an animal bite.
Oh my God.
So whenever I would come in, I would literally just like walk in, they'd have the whole staff, and I'd like pull my pants down, and they'd be like, okay, he's got this much this and so on, and he's infected and fuck. So it's like, but you want to know what the best blessing of it was?
There's a silver lining to this?
There's a million silver linings. A million silver linings.
This is life happening for you? Tell me how this is life happening for you.
Everything really came together from a real primal level of just simply being a man and looking at women as something to conquer, to have sex with, or whatever else. Bro, that was taken from me. They said I was never going to be able to have children again.
Whoa.
I would never be able to get hard again. And even if I did, the sensations would be all over the place, and I wouldn't be able to be a functional sexual partner ever.
Wow.
So all that stripped from me. Like, at least that was the perspective. It's being stripped from me. And then also, like, what's the fucking lesson here? So I'm thinking all of it's being stripped. And then there's the long healing road to being able to come into the deeper sense of, like, the true healing behind it all. But that was, like, I don't know. I think for anybody being on display like that, and like being told you're no longer going to be able to spread your seed in a good way, you're no longer going to grow a family, you're no longer going to be able to
you're no longer a
pleasure
man.
your wife.
You're no longer a man.
You're no longer a man in the deepest sense. It's been taken from you.
Damn.
And so those were the lessons that I got to go through, and that's where humility really came in, and especially when it came to the sisters, because then it was. Like, I really just wanted to get to know you. I didn't just want to have a conversation with you because you're pretty. I didn't think 5 steps ahead of the road because I was trying to manipulate. And that's why the healing work has been so easy for me to be around other sisters. Yeah. It's because I don't have that drive to be able to take anything. I really want, like, you're my sister. I really want to be close with you, and I want to be intimate on all different levels. There was no way I could do that if the urge for me was still just that primal urge. Yeah. So for me personally, there were many silver linings.
Let me ask you, if it's not primal, how would you describe where it comes from now?
Now is just the deepest sense of connection. Because truly I've been without it, and when I was out it, I can easily pleasure myself, and that's another thing. I learned throughout all of that trauma, I learned different types of sensual erotic zones, and what to touch and how to please myself and how to ask others to be able to please me in specific ways. So it really has nothing even to do so much more now with even like the act. That for me has turned into, if we're going to have children, well then I'll be in communion with you in that way. If there's a deeper sense and purpose to it, then that's going to be that. But there's many ways to be intimate. There's many ways to be sensual. There's many ways to bring tantra into all of life. Yeah. Since that's what may be understood instead of me just coming in vaguer terms. But the truest sense of like slowing down and feeling more, that's what triggered all of it. There's no way. I was a fucking racehorse, bro. There was so much ego that was into all of my sexual thing as a young man. Yeah. Crazy.
Just like straight ripped away.
So when that was ripped, it was like, and so right there, where my wife just got to the hospital, I just look at her and I break down and I'm just saying, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry for all of it. I'm sorry. I can't please you anymore. I can't be a man anymore. And that was like, nothing could have ever put me into a scenario like that to be able to feel that way. So humility for me, and again, because I can now see so many different reasons of that's why it happened. Yes, of course that's why it happened. Of course that's why it happened. Silly. You thought it was just, you thought it was the universe against you, and you thought that everything was just like, or you thought it was your karma or whatever else, blaming it on all the past of past lives. No, It was like this to propel me to where I'm at now in life, and to be trusted by the very specific people that I'm trusted by to be able to have the influence that I do. It's like I had to be humiliated in specific ways to be able to come to such a humility to understand like nothing and everything all at the same time, and like just trying to be the best human possible. Yeah. Right? Grow the garden, make sure that my girls are good, the children and innocence doesn't have to look over their shoulder anymore. Stronger and stronger and stronger brothers and sisters that could just come together as tribe, know that we can network with each other and continue to build and flourish within this ecosystem. Yeah. As long as that continues to happen in life, which for me in my life it is, come on. But that came from the humility of like, fuck, like, I got nothing else. Wow. Not even just like on the ground, like, my whole head is down in the middle of the earth. Completely just take me in all of it.
Yeah.
Just take me. Because if I come back, I'm only going to be more in what I know as is present and more consistent in what my most evolved version understands as integrity and being in alignment and living forward instead of living backward. All right.
Holy shit. Well, now I have a deeper sense of like, I love this idea from humiliation to deep humility. And I mean, for you to come back from that experience, to take the lessons out of it, this is very profound.
And I still have kids.
And, well, not only that,
I got two more.
You had 2 more daughters, and you fully, that's.
And I fully healed everything that needed to be healed.
Yeah.
Wow. But what a colorful journey that was.
Yeah. If you needed a story to go, hey, my situation might not be so bad, because my brothers who are watching, they're going through it.
Well, and especially for a man, right? I think, and I know just from talk, especially as young men, it's like the whole thing of the phallus and like, is it too small? Is it big? Is it this? Where do I rank? What is this? Am I looked at as like something that's honorable to women, so on and so forth? Yeah. Because all of that was completely shattered. Like when people say, I used to get this a lot. They would meet me and they'd be like, fuck, you must have a fucking huge cock. Your cock must be huge because of how you fucking show up.
And you're sitting with this.
And I got mangled. Yeah. And I'm fucking mangled open. So as soon as that changed into no more, it was no more of like, oh, I got a big dick or I got this or I got this or whatever. Yeah. It was like, my shit's mangled as fuck. And I don't care nothing about that no more. Oh, it's like, now I'm just coming from the heart. Come on. Like, let's go.
That was my initial question. How do you make a man called Bearheart? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, if a man can mangle his shit and come back and say, you know what, I'm still coming forward.
Yeah, and come back with full presence.
Call me Twiddly D. I don't care. It don't matter what you call me.
Twiddly D. Were you training that dog?
No. It was the only damn dog I wasn't training.
You weren't even training the dog? It was a random dog?
So my whole thing was the majority was attack dog training. So I'm teaching literally all day long. I'm the decoy. And the dog's learning to bite me in all different areas of my body.
Oh, okay.
And so at no time in my training was I ever bit. This was much more of a random situation where I was going into training a client.
Shit.
But dang, man, my life, I really gave myself such a, whew! It's like, no, that's not going to be good enough. He needs to have it the way that's just going to really bring him down.
Damn.
That's what I kept giving myself.
Do you think of it like that? Like it was a punishment?
No.
Not like a punishment. What do you think of it as?
For whatever this energy within this iteration is, for it to bring its most potent medicine, I needed to become so humiliated that I could literally just like, I got nothing. I'm a dead man walking. So if I'm a dead man walking, what do I want to do with it?
Damn.
And how can I contribute the most while I still have this time?
How did you go from dead man walking to being of service? How does that, you know what I'm saying? How did you come to that conclusion?
Bro, for me, it all came from one way or another being humiliated. Like it was the service. It's like the service came from, I mean, the first part of service that I was when I was a firefighter when I was locked up. And so that was the first opportunity to go from a penitentiary setting to like an actual camp setting where you're in a community and you're assisting with the community and so on. But as you know, the story of, I got locked up for taking the law into my own hands of protecting a dear friend that was raped. Yeah. And so, and did what I needed to do and did my time and went through that schooling. But then again, you also have this like humility that's like, wait a minute, in society, when innocence is tampered with and taken, and you can, like, the mentality at that point in my life was, I can try to do things by the book, or the dude's still in the house and I'm called, and at that point there's like illegal drugs and guns and everything else. So it's like you got to do it all. You have to be the protector. You have to have this. But to do that and to feel like, okay, I'm coming in and I'm going to protect and put my life on the line because of also what ended up happening, being blasted at point blank,
Yeah.
all of it, and then to still go to prison and feel like, fuck, I didn't even protect well enough because I'm in here now. It's like, think about how fucking humiliating. It's like, I'm gonna go to the end of the world for this person because they were harmed, and now I'm fucking locked up, and I can't even be there for my own mother. What the fuck was that for?
Damn. What's the lesson in that?
Humble yourself. Humble yourself. You can't save everybody.
You can't save.
You know, that's why we need community. I chose to have community because I am not willing to live life anymore to say it's all on my shoulders. It can't be. If it's all on my shoulders, nobody's safe. If it's all on my shoulders, I'm gonna shut some shit down. Then and I think at any point we just get to understand, no, it's like everyone has their part, everyone has their way to show up. I don't have to be the judge, the jury, the executioner, the lover, the this, the that. We all get to have our own part, and I just choose to not be that anymore.
Yeah.
And so that was being humiliated and feeling as though that was the way that you could show how you protect the most, is to put your life on the line. And then you go through like what I considered prisoner of war, because at that point it was like I was just defending my life. So now I'm just a prisoner of war, and I can't get out until I say pretty please and be a good boy.
Right.
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 So yeah, humility to being extremely humble. And I hope moving forward for anybody that's listening, it's like with deep humility and with deep like sincerity. I've also understood that I don't have to teach myself that way anymore. I don't need to learn the hard way anymore.
By running into the fire?
I've learned that, and like I was saying with Kunal, if we can catch the lesson before the lesson has to catch us,
Yeah.
and we can stay above the curve, you know, and in that, and right and aligned action, it won't be, because I also convince myself that there's a greater something out there that's saying, well, okay, this is why it's all perfect, and this is why it continues to be all perfect. Just keep on trusting. So as that's happening, like, yeah, man, this as authentic as it possibly can be, and living life in an extremely authentic way. I know the lessons are going to be what they're supposed to. So,
all right. So let me ask you.
Humility to humble.
For those that don't know Bear Heart, that don't know your medicine, that don't know La Forza, what is the mission?
Deep and right relations. Yeah. And in a way, just tripling down on, there's a lot of ways that we could put our time and energy into. For me, because the only answer, as we know, we already discussed, is love. The mission is continue to understand that that's also the mission, and how can I utilize all of my life experience to be able to connect with individuals and really come back to the table of how can we truly be supporting each other for the whole. Because if love is it, then love is the answer for me, outwardly for my family, outwardly for my extended family, and the worldwide family. That's the mission. That's the embodiment. Being real with it, being really raw with whatever and how I can keep showing up as a brother in the world. That's the mission.
Yeah.
Because love is at its core, everything is going to be with that intention. But good and right relations. And let's keep growing that. Let's keep spreading this mycelium. Yeah. Let's keep coming together in beautiful ways and understanding our own genius inside and being able to support one another in these ecosystems.
Yeah.
That's the mission. Yes, continuing to be part of different communities in different beautiful, prayerful ways, and living. I mean, bro, I get paid just to be me.
Yeah.
So like, and because of that, I choose to be of service in the best way that I can, and that's just simply to show up.
Yeah.
And so for my personal, show up as a daddy, show up as a beloved to everybody. Just be beloved to everybody. Be beloved to myself, be beloved to everybody. And then everything will naturally happen correctly. And it's because it's been happening for so long. I know the mission could seem grand and have, well, this many things, and The actual, like, putting the pen to the paper in some future plans is always going to be there, but that's to continue to grow the ecosystem and to keep helping family.
Yeah.
That for me works. Like that's the mission. That's what's working. It's already happening. There's nothing more grand that has to happen. Everything's already here as long as we ask for it and are ready to receive it. What's the mission? Even more interior. Can Bearheart, whatever this entity, energy of me is, can I learn how to receive a little more? Can I just stay like even more in the receiving? Because I give a lot.
Yeah.
But could I be in the real, honest, starfished, open feeling like I'm really like, come on, receive. Instead of like, receive a little, give. Receive, give. Let me receive. And even if it's for those split moments, but to remember those split moments for me are extremely important. So
what does a man like Bearheart wish to receive?
You know what, man? I took myself out to a nice dinner the other night. Yeah. Right on the water, right at the sea level in Island Prime. And I'm out, and I said I got fresh. I overlooked the skyline, had a beautiful steak and shrimp, and just like the quietness. It was windy and rainy, so nobody was on the patio but me. And I was right there, and I just gave myself, because again, I receive so much love everywhere that I'm at, but very rarely do I have the moment just to like be and just give myself the actual presence of not having to expend.
Yeah.
And so
to be in your own energy, yeah.
That's what I gave myself. Yeah. Give myself a nice meal, give myself a haircut, give myself a beautiful intention to just like, you're doing good, man. Take yourself out for dinner. Imagine all the ones that you love around you right here and just be with the love of it all.
Come here, Holland. Come here. You either come in or come out or stay in.
I gotta find a bird.
You gotta find a bird?
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Which bird do you want to find?
There's a nest.
There's a nest.
There's a nest up there.
There's a nest up there.
See up there? Oh, yeah. That's a nest for birds.
Well, this is how the front porch convos go.
Hey.
It's good to have you here at my house again.
Thank you, brother.
Around the fam. Good to drop back in. If you haven't heard the previous Bearheart episodes, every time I get deeper layers of what makes you who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you for such good questions. Thank you for caring. Thank you for just, being a brother.
With that, it's cute we got Holland here. And then we'll play guitar for the outro.
Who is that picking that?
That's a guitar. That's the guitar.
Who is that, friends?
This is Bearheart.
Oh.
That's Bearheart. He's a sacred son.
You remember me?
Yeah.
I'm one of the OGs.
Yeah.
And actually, he met you. He was one of the first people to meet you after you were born. Man, isn't that a trip? This is the same time of year we came around together last year, too.
Yeah. It's that once a year touching.
Yeah. Oh. We've been doing it for several years now. So, with that, and to wrap up the porch conversation, is there any message that you want to leave with the brothers and sisters who are listening?
Well, first, thank you for bringing your attention and your presence to this time and wanting to share this together, because we have no idea what kind of medicine is going to touch whoever, and so I appreciate being here and being very present with everybody, being very present with myself and the brothers and the other brothers that are here, and the children. Nothing has been a mistake. It's been talked about before, but man, it just keeps on coming around and around and around. Nothing has been a mistake. Not who you are, where your family's from, how smart you think you are, what the tests say, what you've done in life, how many friends you have, all of it. Lack thereof, the traumas that have happened. Nothing's been a mistake. And that's not to condone out of aligned action it's to say that it's all been perfect. And if it's all been perfect, if there's any time where we're in a space of high sensation, high emotions, it's hard to be able to have the tool bag. How can I enjoy the sensation that's already here?
More babies in the
For
mix.
the children, we make music. For the children, we give life. The sacred sons are here. Your Uncle Bearheart is here too. There's the stuff that happens in life where in the moments, even when the majority of the time, we're in a space of like, okay, I could get it, there's a deeper understanding to this, but it's when the sensations are really high. When we're really in the not forgiving ourselves or not forgiving somebody else. When the thing is right there in front of you, we can choose to distract, we can choose to numb, we can choose to make excuses, or we can just be really... I'm a student of life. Thank you. Thank you. I know this is happening for me, not to me. And how can I have the most fun? How can I enjoy this the most? How can I be creative with this? How can I be able to utilize that sensation, all those emotions? And how can I utilize that as fertilizer for more growth within the ecosystems? Yeah, how can it become more colorful? How can I find more joy in it? And in the rawness and realness of all of it. So for the brothers and sisters that are out there, at least for me, I'm going to say that's what I'm going to keep doing. No matter what keeps happening, because this thing called life is a river, baby. And this river continues and continues and continues. So with that...
It just keeps on going.
With that, I'm going to stay as much in the current as in the flow as I can. And as soon as we get together, we're going to be in the same boats together and working in the most harmonious way we can. Keep showing up in a really good way. And to know that we're not doing it alone. We're here.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for your presence. I appreciate this opportunity, this ability just to be home with family and also to be able to be in deep contemplation and talk and to continue to get to know each other even more and to share what
we shared some other humiliations earlier too. The life is the river of humiliation.
Oh man. Oh yeah, that'd be a good one. Like even in the present. It's good to be able to feel those ones in the present though, yeah?
Yeah.
That'll be for the next edition of Bearheart being splashed in the face with
water.
Dirty jacket water from somebody that lived on the streets that didn't take care of themselves.
That concludes our porch talk with Bearheart. My brother, thank you for joining me at the house today. 3 years in a row. We make it a tradition. With that, Bearheart, Adam Jackson, Sacred Sons, Route family.
Love.
Peace and tea.
Hey.